Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back, and today we're going to do a One Piece chapter 1055 review. Let's get into it. So the title of this chapter is called The New Age. So we initially start near the capital again with Momo, Yamato, and the Scabbards, and they're still fighting Green Bull, and honestly they're getting wrecked still, right? But once we get Raizo to actually use his fire release on Green Bull, we actually see that fire is actually pretty effective against Green Bull. However, he does have a counter for fire, and his counter is called the Fireproof Forest. So it's interesting that characters in One Piece can actually plan for a weakness that they have. So in Green Bull's case, it was fire, and he's able to plan for using this Fireproof Forest whenever there's a fire-based attack. After that, we get down into the castle basement, and we see that Law is joining up with Robin and Sukiyaki. And looks like Oda's really shipping this relationship here between Robin and Law, and it's really cool to see how Law has an interest in like the history of the world and actually learning about it, similar to how Robin does, as well as kind of their backstories line up as the Marines kind of burn down their homes as a child. So Sukiyaki ends up telling us some interesting information. He didn't even need to show Kaido and his crew how to find the Lode Poneglyph, since Jack is a fisherman and he can kind of breathe underwater and see what's going on. So this leads into what actually is underwater and why it's underwater. So apparently Wano is completely surrounded by walls. Apparently 800 years ago, Wano actually used to be at sea level, and after the Void Century, they basically put up these walls and closed the border of Wano. And once they put up these walls, it ended up filling with rainwater. So the people of Wano could no longer live towards the bottom. They ended up moving Wano towards the top of Mount Fuji. And so that's where current day Wano is. Another interesting thing Sukiyaki brings up here is that it's a sleeping ancient weapon, which is very interesting what that means about the ancient weapon. Like, is the ancient weapon a thing that's literally asleep, and then once kind of the water is removed from the situation, that's when the ancient weapon kind of awakens, I guess. Not really sure what he meant by sleeping. Maybe it's a case where it's something similar to Shirahoshi, where it's an actual being that controls something else around it that is called the actual ancient weapon, and that as a total is the ancient weapon, right? Shirahoshi isn't the ancient weapon by herself, but once she calls upon the Sea Kings, then she becomes the ancient weapon, right? So maybe it's something like this where it needs to awaken and then activate something else to join it to become the ancient weapon. We get back to the capital, and Green Bull is just yapping off and saying that no man can beat nature. I'm gonna take you guys out. I am a force of nature, right? And he's just going off. And he even says that I didn't come here because of Kaido, but now that Kaido's gone, that's not even a deterrent for me, so I'm coming after these young Straw Hats, and I want Straw Hats' head, is basically what Green Bull's vibe is right now. He's real pissed off from his failure in Merishowa, it looks like. And Yamato is like, yo, maybe we should call the Straw Hats to pull up and show Green Bull what's what right now, you know what I'm saying? Take him out. But Momo's like, no way, I have to prove to everyone that I can defend Wano, and otherwise it's pointless that you guys kind of took over Wano for us to just lose it again, right? So Momo actually has a great point here. He has to prove to Luffy and the gang that he can defend Wano himself, and along with the Scabbards, right? So then we get into Momo using Bora Breath, and Bora Breath ends up actually affecting Green Bull to some degree. So these Bora Breaths just end up cutting right through his Fireproof Forest. But obviously it's not keeping Green Bull down for the long count, but it actually is sort of working on him. And then we get our boy Shanks, and Shanks just pulls up and zaps Green Bull with his Conqueror's Haki. And he just goes off. He's just going off with his Conqueror's Haki. Somehow he was able to pinpoint Green Bull all the way from the water. And he's completely far off the coast. He's not even close to the coast. And he was able to pinpoint Green Bull from all the way over there with his Conqueror's Haki and literally send him a message. And it's really interesting how this message kind of worked. Maybe it was kind of the voice of all things combined with Conqueror's Haki, some kind of observation Haki thing. And another feat is just the range of the attack. We've never seen an attack at that range. I guess another attack that's pretty similar range would be Enel's attack, where he would just kind of strike you with that beam from the heavens. So this kind of honestly reminded me of Enel in kind of the range of attack here. So that ended up freezing Green Bull. Shanks is basically saying, really, you Marines are so cheap that you want to go after the young saplings? He called them saplings. And he was just like, does the new age frighten you that much that you're coming after these saplings after they just made history, baby? You're really coming after these saplings? And what's really interesting is that, like, a lot of people apparently were blown away by the levels. There's always levels to things, and I think Oda has always wanted to hype up Shanks. So he really freaking hyped up Shanks here, and everyone's freaking hyped about Shanks. This is one of the craziest feats, and it shows how much Luffy still has to grow in the story. And clearly we're not done. I don't know what people expected for Luffy to just be at his peak and be able to take on Blackbeard already, right? He clearly needed to master something greater. Even Kaido kind of foreshadowed this, is that at the end of the day, Haki is the most important thing. Your will is the most important thing. And I think it's going to be a battle of wills. A battle of wills at the end of One Piece here. And something interesting is that even though Shanks' attack is so precise and could find out where Green Bull is, his crew even brings up the newbies started foaming at the mouth. Some of the newbie crews of the Shanks red-hair pirate crew actually started foaming at the mouth, which is really, really funny. So it's interesting, like, maybe around the ship, like, you know, it was kind of a Conqueror Haki blast going on over there as Shanks was making the attack. But people were also wondering, like, why is Shanks even here? Like, he hasn't done anything. He actually didn't fight anyone or do anything. Green Bull didn't even fight anyone, actually, right? And it all just looks like a kind of a promotion for Film Red. But I think, like, it was kind of another piece of the story as well, because Shanks kind of came there to protect Luffy and his crew, right? To protect the Straw Hat Pirates from any outside forces that were trying to take them while they're down, right? So that was kind of the idea of Shanks being there, even though it is kind of a promotion. But it does make sense that Shanks would be there because he knew the Marines would kind of take advantage of the situation. They know that they're down. They know that they're tired, which also puts kind of a caveat near what Green Bull did earlier with the commanders, right? So when Green Bull took down the commanders, there's a lot of hustle and bustle about if they're recovered. And here, kind of Shanks confirms it, is that everyone's exhausted. The fight was like a really, really exhausting fight. So if the Straw Hats and the crew were exhausted, I'm sure King and Queen were exhausted, right? So that's a caveat. I don't know how people are going to take that on power scaling, whatever they want to do with it, but I think that is something to take into consideration. So Green Bull didn't handle King and Queen that easily, I think. I think if they were at full strength, the battle would have been a little bit tougher there. And easily the sickest part outside of Shanks was the crew pulling up on the side and they were just watching from a distance. And it was Zoro, Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbei. And they're all just chilling. They're like, hey, looks like we didn't need to pull up. Momo's got this. You know what I'm saying? Momo's got this. And then it was sick. Like, Luffy was just like, hey, I recognize an old friend. That was amazing. That was amazing. And it just hypes up this meet with Luffy and Shanks so much more. I cannot wait for this to happen. I think all of One Piece can't wait for this to happen because that happened 10,000 or 1,054 chapters ago. Like, I can't even believe how long ago that happened. So I'm hyped for that. I'm hyped for everything in One Piece. I cannot wait to see what happens next. I'm guessing what's going to happen next is that they're just going to set off to Elbaf after this. I don't really see what else needs to get wrapped up. Maybe like the loose ends with Zoro and kind of figuring out more about Zoro's family. But basically after that, I feel like the Straw Hats can bounce and move on to the next island from here. But yeah, that's all I got. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. I thought this was a great freaking chapter. This was an amazing chapter of One Piece. And subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.